Ladies and gents, Kinley Francis here from Orkney Uncovered Private Tours on Sunday the 9th of February. While the rest of the UK is being battered by Storm Ciara, it's actually quite calm here in Orkney. We do have quite a lot of heavy sea swells, but wind speed today is probably about 20 miles an hour. A lot less than the sort of 80-90 they've got down in the mainland. Anyway, what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you a walkthrough of something called the Brough of Deerness. Now there's two types of brough here in the Orkney Islands. Brough, B-R-O-U-G-H, is an island that's connected to another area of land at low tide by a naturalised causeway. This brough, however, is above the waterline most of the time. The other type of brough, B-R-O-C-H, is an Iron Age fort built by Pictish man in the Iron Age, probably later on in the Iron Age, around about 100 years BC, lived into about the 3rd century. And what we're going to do just now is we're going to go to an island that is connected to another island. And on top of this island there is the remains of a Viking chapel. So without further ado, I'm going to put my helmet on with the GoPro and give it a shot. Hang on a sec, okay? Now this is a pretty amazing path for anybody that likes a bit of adventure. This is a good path to go. You have to be very careful because it's extremely slippy, as I found out on the way over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to carefully navigate our way down this embankment. Anybody that wishes to come here to do this in Deerness, it's an amazing location, but this is a very slippy path, especially when wet, so be very careful. Ahead of us is the water heading out to the North Sea, and this is the path down to the Brough of Deerness. So the Brough of Deerness is this little island ahead of us. You can see that there's been a landslip at some stage with the cliffs. Here in the Orkney Islands you tend to find most of the stone is sedimentary sandstone, so it tends to be very easily to erode. It's quite easy to erode, and it's also quite notorious at breaking off, so just be very careful. Now normally I would go with somebody on this tour, it's just me today, so I'll be extra careful not to slip like I did there. That's me got a wet bum. Right, we'll keep going. I'm not going to let the wet bum get to me. I can feel the cold water running down my leg, so the joys. So what we're going to do is we're going to make our way up this path which has been cut into the bedrock. An amazing little cove down here to my right hand side. Sometimes they go for picnics here. Now currently what I'm going to do is make my way up this top side of this cliff. Be very careful when you're climbing up here and use the chain provided. Even for those experienced mountaineers and climbers, this is a tad dangerous. Now you do need a certain degree of fitness to be able to do this as well. Not recommended for anybody with vertigo. So you can see the island that we've walked from, the mainland, and who knows, at some stage in the future, as the tide comes in, this section of walkway down below me might be completely covered, and it'll become a true brough. Oh, the joys of a cold wet bum. Right, we've made it. Nice big waves. Now my mum would be screaming at me not to go near the edge here, so I'm going to head off up the hill a bit and have a look at what remains of the Viking Chapel. You can see lots of divots in the ground here, lots of pools of water. Some of them may have been used by the Norse as fresh springs, but what you actually see is if you were to take a drone over here, or a helicopter, you see all these little pools of water. And that's because it was bombed in the Second World War. So lots of carpet bombing in the area, and small, perhaps anti-aircraft shells landing, or perhaps the enemy bombing the island. So this is what remains of a 9th century Viking chapel. As we head in, it says Brough of Deerness. So possibly, when I said 9th century, more like mean 10th century. 10th century, so around about the 959 to 975, been used as a type of chapel and place to worship by the pagans, by the Norse. And you can see here that people have put money down to make a donation, shall we say, or an offering to the gods, the pagan gods. I don't see any of those priced 50p's here because I could trade it with a pound coin, but lots of different currency there as well. And when I take people to tours here at the Brough of Deerness, it's quite a nice place to go for a small walk around this island and shelter in what used to be this amazing 10th century Viking chapel. Great views over the North Sea today. You've got Mull Head up to my left hand side. Now I appreciate, ladies and gents, you've been now listening to me babble on for about 8 minutes. I'm not going to be much longer. I'm just going to head up to the top of the cliffs here and have a look over the views towards the North Sea. This is also quite a popular place to try and see orcas, killer whales, throughout the year. I've seen them many times up here when I've been lucky in the summer months. Best time for me spotting them tends to be August. So this is the might of the North Sea and the coastline, rugged coastline around the Orkney Islands in the far east of the Orkney mainland, Deerness. Big waves coming in. So Storm Ciara's not had much of an impact here in Orkney. Tomorrow looks to be a windy day. Here comes a big wave. So there you go, ladies and gents. I thought I'd give you a quick overview of the Brough of Deerness and the waves coming in from the North Sea here on Sunday the 9th of February. Temperature today is probably around about 8 degrees centigrade, so fairly mild. And on that note, I hope you have a nice video and you enjoy this. And if you like my YouTube channel, if you can please subscribe. And a big shout out to David Offit in Olympia in Washington for the amazing GoPro and the remote control, which is pretty cool. Have a great one, and I'll leave you for a few seconds to watch the waves.